If you are on SNAP, or you know someone that is on SNAP, or hell, let's just say you're not, you still need to pay attention to what's going to happen here anyway. Right now, millions of Americans are at risk of losing their SNAP benefits because the government shut down, because the Republicans and the Democrats cannot come to an agreement. And at this point, I look at it like this. They are really messing with people's lives. They are messing with people's livelihoods. They're messing with something that everybody needs, which is food. Let's go ahead and get into this first video here. Millions at risk.
Government shutdown continues. The country's food assistance program, known as SNAP, could be in serious jeopardy in just 2 weeks. This would impact 42 million Americans who rely on the program. Man-Yi Lee, the director of communications at the Greater Chicago Food Depository, is joining us now. And Man-Yi, what do you anticipate will be the local impact if we don't get the government back on the road?
Yeah. So last week, USDA did notify the Illinois Department of Human Services that if the government shutdown continues, it's that they will not be funding SNAP starting in November. And so what that means in Illinois is that 1.9 million people who are on SNAP in Illinois are going to be facing hunger and hardship come November.
If people want to help at home, they hear this news and they're concerned about their neighbors, what can they do?
Yeah, I mean, they can always go onto our website and help support us in a number of ways. Either they can volunteer and come and help us repack food, or, you know, help their local pantries as well. They can also donate funds. We are able to stretch the dollar. Every donated dollar that we get, we are able to stretch and make sure that we are able to provide and purchase more meals than the average consumer. And also they can help us to advocate and let our leaders, our legislative leaders know that SNAP isn't negotiable, and we really should be trying to do as much as we can to protect it.
If people...
Let's pause here for just a second. I want to reiterate, we're looking at, again, 42 million Americans will be impacted here. And when you think about it, the fact that we have 42 million Americans that are on SNAP just goes to show you once again how we don't take care of people right here in our country. How we are sending billions to Israel and all these other countries. We are bailing out Argentina instead of taking care of the people here. No child should go hungry. Nobody should go hungry in this country. It does not make any sense to me. It just goes to show you that the funds are being mismanaged, and they're being mismanaged on purpose. Now, this is where the local food pantries are going to be a savior of sorts for many people. If this continues to be an issue, we're looking at November. That's right around the corner that this could be impacted. And we have a Congress that is willing to hold the American people hostage instead of doing the right thing, right? Because they're not on SNAP. Like, they have food. They're fine. They have great benefits. They have great health care. They are totally fine. But it should never have come to this. We shouldn't even have to need SNAP in this country. Like, people shouldn't have to go hungry, but this is where we are. Let's go on a little bit more here, and we'll get to more about the food pantries.
People aren't familiar with how the program works. Can you explain it?
Yeah, so basically every month, SNAP participants, they're given an EBT card. They have to qualify, and they're able to get SNAP benefits loaded onto an EBT card, where they can then take it to a grocery store and spend it to purchase vital, food nutrition for their families.
I mean, is there not an emergency fund that the state has that they can chip in and just bridge the gap between, the work stoppage of the government and until we get federal workers back to work?
Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, what we can do is that we provide and we remain committed to providing food and making sure that our pantry partners in the community remain stocked and their shelves remain stocked so that they have enough food. But they are monitoring on the ground all the time the demand for food in the community, and then they place orders with us, and then we satisfy those needs. But right now, we don't know how this is going to impact. We just us know that come November the 1st, a lot of SNAP participants are not going to get the funding that they need. Actually, all SNAP participants aren't going to get the funding that they need to afford basic food assistance. And so we really urge them to have a backup plan, go onto our website, find at chicagosfoodbank.org, find the location of their nearest pantry so they can come and get free food in this emergency, and we'll do the best we can to satisfy the need.
Did you notice that she said, does the state not have emergency funds for if something like this is to happen? I mean, it's a good question. I mean, all of these states, this is another thing I want to point out. All of these states give money to Israel. Boston, just Boston in Massachusetts, was giving $10 million to Israel every year. We have so much money that's going to places that it should not go. And this is a part of the problem, right? So no, to answer that question, sounds like the state does not have an emergency fund for this type of situation. So once again, not looking out for the American people. And this is where the activists, the organizing on the outside, this is where they come in. See, at the end of the day, it all goes back to building dual power. Because when the government screws you over, and they will, and they have, and you see that they're doing it now, who do you then lean on? You lean on people in your community. You reach out to those food pantries. And then keep in mind, I want you to think about who is on SNAP, because there seems to be this misconception that the average person that's on SNAP is just not working. They're lazy. They're sitting at home, just getting this card and then just buying things. Yeah, there are some people that are like that. But the reality is we're talking about people who are disabled. We're also talking about kids. We're talking about the elderly. Hell, we're talking about elderly people who may also be disabled. So these are the groups of people I think sometimes are often forgotten about, that you also have people who are on disability who legally cannot physically work that do depend on SNAP. So this whole thing about is just people sitting at home getting a handout. People really need to look up the data about this and see it for what it really is. Now, that's for Chicago, but this is going to impact, again, like I said, 42 million of Americans. And I want to show you something else too, because veterans and those of you who live in rural areas, once again, when these policies take place, when we have these government shutdowns, these are the areas that are going to be hit the hardest because the states have less funding. Veterans, rural residents, older adults may lose food stamps due to Trump work requirements. The states are scrambling to implement changes, and the federal shutdown is further threatening benefits. So again, a lot of the red states don't have as much funding. Recent federal legislation ended exemptions to work requirements for older adults, homeless people, veterans, and some rural residents, among others. A rapid timeline to put the changes into effect has sparked chaos in state agencies that must cut off access if residents don't meet certain work, education, or volunteer reporting requirements. States are implementing these permanent changes to SNAP, commonly called food stamps, amid the uncertainty of the federal government shutdown. So we have to acknowledge what is happening in this country. States that are currently confronting the end of exceptions to work requirements for older adults, homeless people, veterans, and those recently living in foster care. Those could threaten benefits even for people who are working, but who may struggle with paperwork to prove they are meeting the requirements. And that is coming from the advocates. So you have this issue as well, right? The work requirements that's been added. But I'm just thinking about all the people who are on disability who require, SNAP, all the elderly people who may not have family members that are there to help them out that have been requiring it, basically relying on SNAP. And again, you'll see another one here, even out in San Diego, because people forget there's a lot of military that live in San Diego as well. You have the Marines out there. A lot of these soldiers are also impacted because when the federal government is shut down, they're not getting a paycheck either, right? So they're talking about some of the food pantries in San Diego as well.
We're in a really uncertain time here in our community.
Uncertainty as the Federal Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or SNAP, known as CalFresh in California, runs out of funds. As of June, more than 5.5 million Californians are on CalFresh. According to some media reports, there may not be enough money in November for food assistance nationwide due to the government shutdown.
Their staffs, they're running out of dollars on their cards.
It means that the burden will be placed on food banks and pantries, really all hunger relief organizations.
Casey Castillo of the San Diego Food Bank says in addition to Californians that may have food stamps cut, San Diego has many active military personnel and federal workers whose paychecks are affected during the shutdown.
Likely meaning tens of thousands of people needing to come to the food bank.
Here's the tricky situation. Despite the impending increase in demand for food banks, there's not an increase in supply. Food banks get most of their funding and food from the government, then it's distributed to local pantries like SSIP, South Sacramento Interfaith Partners.
And if the shutdown continues, we're kind of unsure of what those food sources are going to look like as well.
All right, thank you. It's a trickle-down effect. When distribution centers like the Sacramento Food Bank have fewer resources, that means fewer resources go to local partners like SSIP, and that might mean less food for families.
In one of our programs last year, folks were receiving about 16 items in their bag of food. Now that is down to 10 items.
Reduction.
Pause here. So he said 16 items, which could be anything, probably bread, milk, canned goods. I mean, 16 items actually isn't a lot of food. For those of you who do the grocery shopping like in your home, 16 items isn't a lot, right? So imagine seeing soldiers in line at the food pantry because they're not getting a paycheck. And then people that get those 16 items, like they stretch it out. Like those of you, if you grew up in a family where you had to stretch the dollar, right? Where your parents had to make food last, they had to like stretch things out. So that's something to keep in mind as well. But the point is, we shouldn't even be here. We shouldn't be in this situation. And this is what I say when, for all the people who said they were America first, you should be upset about this, because the reality is all the money that we send, all that money we just sent to Argentina, all the money that we send to Israel, all the money that goes into the defense budget to fight all these damn wars, at some point or another, people need to call out where the money is going. That's why we're not taken care of at home right here. And if you're poor, I mean, they don't care about the working class, but the reality is if you're poor, they care even less about you. This is where we're at now as a country, that people could go hungry. No one should have to go hungry in the United States.
For families is already happening, Castillo says, and it's bad timing with the holiday rush fast approaching.
We are their bridge until they get back on their feet again.
Jenny Ha, CBS 8.
So those food banks, the food pantries are going to be needed, right? Like, so the need is going to increase at those food pantries. So they're going to need all the help that they can get. So one of the things I do recommend, if you have the time, if you can volunteer your time at those food pantries, that would really help. There was something in this Axios article that I do want to point out that hinted towards something. And I think many of you know where I'm going with this. The shutdown could halt SNAP benefits for millions, the states say. So let's get right into this part right about here. As the funding lapse drags on with no sign of a deal to reopen the government, the impact is beginning to reach programs serving the country's most vulnerable families. So again, the most vulnerable. State agencies were already gearing up for sweeping November 1st changes to SNAPs. SNAP is the nation's largest domestic food assistance program. Pennsylvania is one of the states that cautioned November 2025 benefits would not be paid. In a pointed alert, the Pennsylvania Department of Human Services said that because Republicans in D.C. failed to pass a federal budget, causing the federal government shutdown, November 2025 SNAP benefits cannot be paid. So if you live in Pennsylvania, I'm so sorry. I am so sorry for you. This is not good. Starting October 16th, Pennsylvania said that SNAP benefits would not be distributed until the shutdown ended and funds were released. So that's for people right there in Pennsylvania. However, the part I want to highlight is this. because this is where I'm going with it. Residents who need immediate food assistance were urged to call 211 or seek community resources. And this is the part I really want to get into. Community resources. This is where community organizing is going to have to come in. And some people are already stepping up to do this. I'm going to show you one example. But the reality is, guys, we have to build new mutual aid networks across this country. We cannot continue to just hope and rely on the politicians. We really can't. You see it right now. You see it now. Some of you saw it during the pandemic when you lost your job or the small businesses in your neighborhood closed. Many of you saw these things. So this is where the community is going to have to come in. And even Axios points it out, seek community resources. This brings everything back to local again. And some people are already doing it. There's a mutual aid group here in Atlanta. They said it here. Since there is no EBT SNAP for November, we will be using 1/3 of the proceeds from our mutual aid mixer to help pay for groceries, toiletries, for those that rely on government assistance, 1/3 to provide clothing for the unhoused and families in need, 1/3 to provide Thanksgiving dinner for all in need, and 100% of the proceeds benefit the community. That is coming from Jasmine's Garden, and that is really great what they're doing there. They're doing a Sinners in Wonderland event, 18 plus, trick or treat, free parking. So they're doing a mutual aid event on Halloween to give money back, these things back to the community to help people get food. And this is what I'm saying, right? When I talk about building dual power, at the end of the day, when everybody else lets you down, when the people at the top shut the door in your face, you're going to have to turn to people in the community. This is what we're coming to, folks. This is where mutual aid is going to make a big difference. And my goal is to advocate and to get more people to do mutual aid. And this is one of the reasons why. This is just one example, but these things happen all the time. People lose their jobs. People can't get to work because their car is in the shop, but they don't have the money to get the car fixed in a quick time. So then they need a ride to work. That's where carpooling should come in. People need a babysitter, but they can't afford to pay for childcare, but they need a babysitter for that one day so they can go and do that job interview. That's where mutual aid comes in. Someone will babysit for you for free. This used to be something that was more natural within the community back in the day. We got away from that as a society. We spend more time on social media or maybe playing video games, and we should be spending more time outside in our community with our neighbors, building community. We have to get back to that. So that leaves me this to say. Mutual aid is the way to go. We're doing another mutual aid workshop this Saturday. If you want to join, it's free. It's free. Some of you, if you're signed up for my Substack, you've already seen the details for this event. If you're not signed up for my Substack, sign up. I'm going to send it again this week before the workshop on Saturday. This is an old one, I'm sorry, but it's this Saturday, October 25th. I didn't realize I put an old one there. My bad. But anyway, October 25th, this Saturday, if you sign up for my Substack, you'll be able to see the details to join the event. You'll have the Zoom link, etc. JB will be there with me. He's going to be co-hosting that workshop with me. The last two that I've done have worked out really well. People have already contacted me and they've already started mutual aid groups where they are. So I'm going to we show you how to do it so that way you can get that up and running where you are. And you may think, you never know who you may touch. You never know who you may help, because I've seen people, they come by and they're like, I'm so glad that you're here. It's not just me, it's everyone that's a part of the Boston Mutual Aid chapter, right? So this is what it's going to take, because right now, like, I smell trouble. The way that this country is headed economically is not good. And it's only going to be a matter of time when you may be in a position where you have no other choice but to lean on the people in your community. So If you don't know the people in your community, let's start out by doing something different. Everyone take a task this week or this month. Try to go around in your community. If you're active and you like to walk, you like to exercise, try to go around to people in your community and say, hey, want to start doing a weekly walk? A friend of mine started this before the pandemic. She went out to people in the community, knocked on doors and said, hey, let's go for, they used to do a run. Let's go for a weekly run. And then the group got bigger and bigger and bigger as time went by. Then the pandemic happened and that kind of went away. But go ask your neighbors. Go knock on their doors and say, hey, want to go? I'm going for a walk. Want to go? And then more people will start to join on. And that's how you're going to get to know each other and building more community. But you got to start somewhere. Also, it helps you get your steps in. That's one thing that you can try. Try doing a weekly walk with a neighbor. Then you'd be surprised. Sometimes people just need a little motivation. Sometimes people don't want to walk alone, things like that. If we can get back to those days where we do interact with the community, where we are building with our neighbors and with people in the community, I think that we can build dual power. But if we continue to sit back and wait for politicians to come in and save us, we're heading down a downward spiral. We're kind of doomed here. Because here's the thing. I just saw today that Amazon announced that they are going to be replacing over 600,000 jobs with robots. That's 600,000 people that are going to lose their jobs. And they're going to be looking for help within the community. So let's start, guys. No more getting off from work, running into your apartment, not saying hey to your neighbors or whatever. We really got to start somewhere. We got to start building community. Hey guys, this was a Sabby clip. If you like what you saw, hit that like button and subscribe.